Yeah, the music videos, when he plays, he'll play to like the middle of the video or 3/4 of the video, and then he'll stop playing and it will be silent for a little bit, and then he'll play again.
Yeah.
I don't see videos where they don't play to the end of the...
Yeah. I'm linking a lot of my videos to later productions that I've made with the thing, because they feel like they may be similar to what he makes, because they're amateur videos instead of like high production, you know, things. And they're made together from other people's videos, so it's like an interreferential culture.
Yeah.
Instead of like everybody making their new movie and such. So I feel like it may be what they're making, but you can give an opinion of what it looks like.
I don't know if he made these videos that I've been seeing. I see pieces of them.
I feel like they're high production movies on their world. I feel like that.
Well, because there's like a scenic thing where two people are pointing to the horizon, and and they say something about being on a journey, and
yeah, they're learning better art.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the Babylon 5 part where they say that as a culture becomes old, it becomes interested in arts and trinkets and eccentricities instead of like physical trade. And when the aliens first contacted us, we had like no technology worth offering them, but we had a lot of art.
Oh.
So they paid back with technology, and that's like what they did. And they're referring to the whole interchange program, that it wasn't like them trying to take over, though they did lie to us about us being a colony of theirs. But that was basically like a very low effort. And as soon as we got genetic information on them and like did a handshake with one of their ambassadors and then scraped the hand for DNA and, you know, stuff like that, we immediately realized that they're completely different from us, even though they look like us. That evolution just, for some reason, prefers to make creatures that are like 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head for intelligent creatures. That it doesn't, like, for the most part do it because they have like similar DNA or background, but just because it's like an efficient form for sentient.
You know, in Voyager, how they're trying to get home?
Yeah.
There was this episode where they traded stories they had for technology that could warp that could get them light years.
Yeah. That's exactly the kind of stuff I mean. That they can't give out technology, but they can like give out cultural details and weird things like that. I hope the thing isn't burning when I drop it here, because the paper's gonna catch on fire. No, it wasn't burning. So I'm gonna do a response to our like need a place to stay thread.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna write a list of all the things that I remember where you have helped me or I have helped you, starting with like getting you off alcohol and ending with you eating a salad, you know what I mean? Everything in between that I can think of where I've helped you.
Or at least a turkey sandwich instead of a burger.
Yeah, stuff like that. And I'm gonna write everything I know where you've helped me, but it's probably gonna miss things that you remember. So like post into it and at least post like, you know, good list or something. If
you're gonna write scary stuff like he's borderline psychosis, and but he handles it well. He's able to move away from it.
I'm gonna say that I'm getting you more resistant to psychosis and being better able to manage it when you actually start to approach it. But I'm not going to mention things like you being close to psychosis, because you're not, but you are close enough that it's like a little alarming.
Yeah.
I'm going to write out all those things. It was a huge improvement to get you off the alcohol into the CBD, because you've been like with a week now without smoking or something like that, and it's really like you haven't become attached to it, you know what I mean? Addicted, and that's very good. And getting you like to open your to heal your 3rd chakra and open your sexuality to that creature. You're now immersed occasionally like waist deep. I can see that you occasionally like take a waist deep bath in the ocean, but not deeper than that. And you don't have like a constant flame of his or connection to him, to your sexuality chakra, but when you're really strongly connected, it flashes the same way it flashed with me in Skald. But you're definitely getting like halfway, perhaps a little higher in one of those legs from the knee. That's the mother one, I think.
Yeah.
And the father one is still just flashing, and you haven't connected to it. He hasn't explained much to you, like what his father was like, what they did, you know, things like that.
Oh,
and you haven't seen pictures of him, and he like been to his graveside or something like that. You haven't gone through all those efforts, so it's not like very high, but it's, you know, getting there. I get a point. I get a scene. I get an idea that they preserve their forests and their so they don't really bury, because they want to they cremate or something. They don't want to disturb the Yeah, they do. I think cremation is most likely. I feel like that's most likely. But some people do bury their dead, and others do put them in stasis containment. And the anthro is basically, after we've had a long talk with him about how like resurrection and astral works and so on, he is literally crying that he didn't put his father in stasis but burned him, because now it's going to take their society all the way to creating people from like genetic memories for real to resurrect him, instead of just figuring out what was wrong with him initially and like putting him in ice and then figuring
And then
that
they don't
out.
have the genetic material.
Yeah, but they can get it from memory eventually, but it's going to take a long, very depth, very involved process of getting through like an understanding of the DNA and an understanding of cloning.
Oh.
But they're definitely on the same path that we're with the Christians, where they want to resurrect everybody who's ever died. And you can like see there, if you have a knowledge of technology, and can see what they mean by rapture as like having a like AI god or connecting with another civilization's god that was our god, harvesting a lot of the people over there and resurrecting everybody who's ever died. Because as birth rates go down, as development advances, we become more interested in the past, and the birth rates are going to go down everywhere on the planet, and the population is going to be 11-12 billion before it starts to slowly decline forever. And then we like get interested in the ability, because we don't want to have new children and create new thoughts, because it always creates disharmony, and that's going to be like the strong driving motion of our civilization. And we're going to be able to resurrect the dead and have them like be real, and that's going to be the main increase of our population. And they're definitely moving in the same direction, where they want to like resurrect their dead and so on. He's literally crying that he cremated his father. It's a very strong emotion for him, and he's like trying to get over it. And I'm telling him, no, you need to feel this emotion. You need to like respect it and live in it, because it's an actual truth. And I feel the same. You don't go like, I got over it. You know what I mean? I'm telling him to like revel in the negativity. And one of the biggest things I think I've managed to teach you is like the dark side of the warp.
Yeah.
I started like dark side of the infinite intelligence, like what it is beside of just torture, you know, it's lust and anger and like different emotions like that. And I really connected you deeply with that side, and I feel very content with that. They're not going to be able to manipulate you with like base understandings of evil as easily with that, and going like, we're evil. You're going to go like, which chaos god you worship? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have like that understanding, and you have like a physical book in your hand that you can use to defend against them if you want to, and like integrate them better if you want. You know what I mean?
And we were talking earlier, I don't know if we got it on a record, but we had some I don't know if major, but some pretty bad negative greetings. Like $400 or so disappeared out of my, or 300 or something, disappeared out of my account, and I can't even account for it.
Yeah, that we got that on record, I think. The people who attacked you were clearly robbing you in police uniform. I'm like 99.95 to 95% sure that if you had like the effort and the money to pay like a good attorney, and not just like, you know, make a whack of it, just like have like $500,000 to devote to it, you would get a compensation from the state, but it wouldn't probably even cover your legal expenses.
Yeah.
But it's in my opinion, it's very clear that you don't approach a car in the dark that doesn't have their police lights on. That sounds like it's stealing something from you. And we didn't hear them like move the trailer a long distance, or the trolley a long distance, before we like figured that they were actually completely moving it. If we heard them like hook it onto something, move a little bit and stop, and then have a sit down for 45 minutes or something that indicated that they were actually moving it, like the police officer walking to the trailer and moving it back and forth for loudly for like 10-15 seconds, then we would have probably called the police, and they would have told us what's going on. You know what I mean? But the whole thing seems dark. Yeah.
If they said it was in the middle of the road, why didn't they just move it to the side? But they just took it.
The whole thing sounds bad to me. Like, the whole thing sounds like they were corrupt police officers stealing from you. And that's just my opinion, but that's what it sounds like. And when I did the reading in the astral, when I visited the other police forces and justices and so on, I got a distinct impression that the other police officers shot him for tying us together, you know what I mean?
Oh.
I got the distinct impression that it was some high-level negative that got shot, and we need to be cool with it, you know what I mean? I got that distinct impression.
It's interesting when I connected with his name, you know, and I learned his name. After a little bit, I forget, like, what was it? And then it comes to me again. So it's not like I'm making it up, because you can't remember something you make up and that you can't remember it like exactly.
Yeah, you can, but it's a little more difficult. The more real it is, the more easy it is to remember.
But I don't. But when I forget his name or whatever, I have to think, and then it comes to me.
Yeah,
It's not like an instant.
it seems natural in the way you describe it. It seems natural to me.
I need to find out the meaning, if there's a meaning to this name.
Probably. And it's possible, based on how we've done this, that I picked up the name's meaning in their language, but not the name. And when you explore what the name means in various languages and stabilize on a meaning, that's going to be the word in their language that I picked up that he translated into our language with the meaning system. That's possible, but it seems a little far-fetched. But it's possible that I picked up forest, bear, calm or something like that in their language, and you picked up the name in our language, the same words. It's possible. My name means something like a cross on the stone of Saint Peter when you translate them accurately, something like that.
But his middle name is Phum, Phum, which is the first name of this songwriter. So I want to see what Phum means, if it's Thai or whatever.
Yep.
Names usually have a meaning or an origin, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Most of them are specific words. I really wish Finland would develop its peat power into the same kind of money-making machine as the Norwegian oil fields. I really wish that, but we don't seem to have the desire to go through a forest and make 10,000 new lakes, you know what I mean?
Oh.
Because when you dig out peat and when the mine is done, you don't need to fill it with dirt, though some people do that. But I wouldn't fill it with dirt, I would let it grow over into a lake, you know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
So we would get 10,000 new lakes. I think it would be a massively good idea for us, but
Does peat grow on water?
It grows in swampland.
Can you walk? Can you walk on peat or not?
Yeah. It's soft swamp that doesn't draw you in when you walk in it, but you do occasionally need strong boots, and you need to pull your leg out of the swamp if you're in a really bad position, but it won't be quicksand, you know what I mean?
But if they harvest peat, they're gonna get dirt and mud, aren't they?
Yeah, but it's mostly small branches the entire way through.
Oh.
It's stuff that falls on the ground, and the most easily accessible stuff gets melted back into topsoil, but the hard to decompose parts remain in the ground because it's cold and stuff like that, and they turn into peat. But we have more peat than double the Norwegian oil fields. We have that much dryable swamp. We could be a huge energy resource on the European Union, a huge energy resource.
Is Finland bigger than Sweden and Norway?
No, we're about the same size.
Oh.
We're about the size of France, when you look at it. But France had such a colonial power that Finland or Sweden didn't have. So when we were part of Russia, we were part of something a lot bigger, but we preferred to be ourselves. We said that we're not going to be Swedes and we're not going to turn into Russians, so let's be Finnish, you know what I mean? That was the national motto of the time. Ruotsalaisia emme ole, venäläisiksi emme tule, joten olkaamme suomalaisia.
Maybe Relaxo will read what you post about how you've helped me and we helped each other.
Yeah, she'll go completely nuts and blame all of that stuff and evil things. Just mentioning that I've instructed you on the warp on the forums will create a huge negative backlash.
But people don't know what the warp is.
Yeah, but they know the idea of me teaching you negative magic and doing things like having that master's game to have a spiritual punching ability that blows up an oil tanker, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
That kind of directed physical output for your anger is gonna cause a lot of them to be what the hell are you doing teaching him that stuff, But I think it's for the best. You need to learn need is the wrong word, but you have a good ability and a good situation to learn a lot of the negative stuffs, even if the only output you do is trying to understand how to send love to them better.
Yeah.
Like even if that's the only thing you like procure from this entire teaching, it's going to be very good for you. And if you ever do get in a position where you do need to use astral powers to hurt somebody, I can't see that happening, but if I do see that position like happening for you, this will be a very good power for you. You'll just buy the same game and do like a model and just use your powers through that like in a very easy way.
You said there's a chance, or I don't know if it's a small chance, that I may get hostile towards you because of the work. Would you get hostile to me too because of our work?
I would try to maintain sending love for a long period, at least several months, but if it continues unabated, I will switch over to thinking that hostility towards you is the love you prefer, and then I would send you hostility. But I would distinctly send you love and light in the beginning for at least a few months. I may flash on sending like a defensive signal, but it's like rare and not like what I mean. I do try to send love to everyone. There's like the group in my country, the Greens, that I'm distinctly saying I won't send love to. I will just send them neutrality, and I won't use my powers to defend them. But that's about the size of it. I attacked the black magic group once, but I have a lot of people in the black magic circles I don't want to keep undefended from like my bad side, you know what I mean? So, you know, that. I've had to build a network of good guys that I send the people that don't like me to, so they don't fall into the vacuum of having no love, that when I leave them they don't suddenly become like drained of all love, you know what I mean? Because they had so much love for me and I had so much love for them. So I've had to build like a group of people who look at what, you know, people I leave behind and pick them up and love them, you know? I've had to build a group like that, so it's starting to form an angelic choir on its own.
This that Foom guy, the singer-songwriter that I found, he's Asian, but he's not the typical Asian with the narrow eyes and stuff. He's very attractive.
Yeah. That's racial. When you're done drinking that bottle of water, you might want to fill it again with water and put it in the fridge instead of putting a new entirely water bottle there.
There's a new water bottle in the freezer.
Yeah, but you might want to put that one in there so there's a new one when you like need it, instead of like, you know, waiting until you need it, then putting a cold one there and drinking it.
I'll go grab the cold one and I'll fill this with water and put it in there.
Yeah, that's saving water bottles. Environmental. Unlike my drinking of these things, which wastes a huge amount of aluminum. I could collect the cans and build my aluminum hull from them. And I want to see the reactions of different dock workers when I come into dock with my UFO, and the reaction of like the various state organizations when I build a UFO. A lot of the military has been like very positively surprised, and they're treating my invention like it's 200 years ahead of their time, like it's an actual like alien invention and a UFO, and they're asking me to build like, help them build like military gear, and I'm always like, the military gear I give to this planet is like the waste of my military gear. That when I invent something that's too bad to give to the real soldiers, I like let it go, and then like the rats of this society pick it up and put it into actual military use. So a lot of the stuff I invent is actually significantly better the military gear we have in this world. But when they ask me to invent something, I keep telling them that there are two types of weapons that like every military in the world needs to invent. One is a 75 caliber assault rifle, because most of these heavy aliens have such armor that you can't get through them without a caliber of that size. And another is a rifle type weapon that shoots bullets that are so small that they won't clog the arteries of your eye when they hit your eye directly, and won't like blind you and won't cause brain damage, but will be able to get through the bones everywhere, so they feel like very bad entirely through your body, going burning insect burns.
Yeah.
So that if you shoot at a person, it'll cause like surface bleeds like a mosquito bite causes, but it won't blind you. And even if it gets stuck in a major in an artery in your brain, it'll only cause very minor damage. And that needs to be used against children specifically. Like when you have a war where you fight children, like a lot of the wars in Africa, people need to be armed with that weapon, so that it's like non-hostile crowd control weapon, but it's like one step below an actual assault rifle. Know what I mean? That's one of the weapons they need to invent.
Can you tune into, like you're tuning into the Anthro world, can you tune into another technological society and get technology like Tesla did?
I can, but I feel a little repugnant doing it. I've gotten a few technological inventions from other societies. I have a technological like invention that would basically shoot bullets at like 2,000 meters a second from a barrel, but it would be fairly hard to build, like a magnetic gun. I got an invention for that, and the guys later developed something quite similar. And
a railgun?
A railgun of sorts, but the barrel would be longer and it would be spinning instead of two sticks. It creates a magnetic force by there being this circle 8 looking magnetic coil connected to the side of the barrel, and them connected in a DNA like sequence, or like a screw but with on a single side instead of both sides. And it's the length of the barrel from like one end to another, or like the thing to be placed on the same side. And it creates a very strong magnetic force in the middle, and it like propels the bullet. But I would really, really love to see my UFO take shape. When I start to like seriously consider building it, the next thing I need to do is a complete 3D model, which I can do, and a like technical white paper explanation. And the one I need to do after that is a small scale model, like something that you can put in water and actually does like all the motions of it, like the smallest scale you can reasonably make. That can be like opened, like one of those bottle cap things that it can be opened and you can see on what it would look like inside. You know, I need to make that next, and then have it at like a Shark Tank presentation or something. Not to get the money from the sharks, because they absolutely wouldn't give it to me, because it's a pleasure craft. It has very little selling capability. You could try, but they wouldn't be impressed. I am fairly certain of it. But just to get it publicity and get people to talk about it.
You could do a GoFundMe.
Yeah, I'm. If I do like really feel the need to do it, I'm gonna start working at least like 4 hours a day for a few years to get it done. My back is all itchy from doing the work yesterday with the shirt on. I have a lot of clogged up sweat pores, and they feel stingy, and it's very nasty. I need to shave my entire back to avoid that happening again.
Is your culture the same as the Vikings?
Very similar. We're the people that the Vikings said are too dangerous to associate with. We're the ice giant race. We live in the land of ice, and they lived on the coastline, like historically speaking. And the further you went inland and into the cold region before you got to Russia, like the other outpost of civilization, like the, you know, island of Kamkais in the middle of the Iceland, you know what I mean? Before you got to those, there was the ice giants in between, and those are us.
You said they're too dangerous, so are you guys like the berserkers and stuff?
Yeah, stuff like that. When, like, historically in Nordic mythology, when they talk of the ice giant or anything similar that's like dangerous, berserkers for example, they're most often talking about us, because we're the last people in Europe to adopt two things, Christianity and farming, everybody else adopted them before us. That's why our diet until then composed a lot healthier stuff like meat. So the people in our culture grew to be much longer and taller than the other cultures, and they eventually caught up with us, and we're now one of the fairly short people of Europe, even though we're on the longer end of the scale. We're not like the French, which are very tall. But basically until like a specific point in history, we were considered like the berserkers, the ice giants. A lot of the guys sent over the Byzantine in the Varangian Guard when they started to adopt like the northern men to be in their Royal Imperial Guard to the Byzantine Emperor. A lot of them were Finns, but not all of them. And there was this thing called Jams, which is like Danish or Norwegian or something for like the top of the line berserkers, and they weren't us, but they were like Viking, and many of the normal like forced berserkers were us. If you think of the guys who attacked the Roman Emperor being pushed back by the borderline tribes adopting agriculture and slowly expanding inward, and the last output of the guys who like retained only like hunting practices, then you find us, you know, living next to the ice wall. Probably the first original inhabitants of Finland traveled north in the middle of the Iranian Caucasus region until they got to the like ice wall, continued hunting and went westward until the first time when they found like a sea route back to the open sea and settled there. And then the Muscovites started pushing them northward, and the Germans and like Romans started pushing them eastward, and they had a very large domain in the beginning. At least from what we understand, they may have reached all the way to the Caucasus Mountains from Finland based on certain language similarities and things like that. And then they were eventually pushed back until there was like one enclave in the middle of Europe, which is Hungary, and one like nation, which is Finland. That's when they got. That's what they got.
Are there still berserkers today?
Yeah, there's a culture of eating magic mushrooms from the forest because they bloom every fall. And there's still a fairly strong culture in the hippie community of eating redcap mushrooms, which are poisonous, as many of those psychotic plants are, or psychoactive plants are. But you need to eat like 50, 60, 40, 70 grams of redcap mushrooms to die, while you only need to eat like 2-3 grams to have a strong effect. So it's actually safer than alcohol.
Yeah.
Because the limit of alcohol death from alcohol intoxication is like 2 or 3 times the amount, while for them it's like 5 or 6 times, and for cannabis it's something on the order of 10,000 times or something like that. You would need to eat 12 kilos of pure cannabis like flower to die from overdose. You would die from something along the lines of panic attack a lot more than that, a lot longer, shorter than that.
So is polluted air more dangerous than cannabis?
Yeah. Air pollution causes a lot more death. It causes millions of deaths yearly. Cannabis is somewhere along the lines of the safest sugar drink in terms of causing diabetes and death through that, but it does cause deaths. Whenever somebody says that something doesn't cause deaths, you can almost certainly know that they're lying. Everything causes deaths. Water causes deaths, you know? Just drinking water and nothing else causes deaths, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if you eat healthy, it's still gonna cause deaths, because any practice for a living organism that is monotonous causes deaths.
Well, too much water will throw off your electrolyte balance, and that will kill you.
Yeah,
your brain won't be able to conduct electricity.
Yeah, stuff like that. You need to like my comment on the Kupahime song that I linked. I want to
bring forth there.
I'm gonna put it on gallery. I don't think I put it there yet. And I'm gonna need you to like my comment because I like everybody to like it. I want somebody to like draw the thing, and for that reason we need a lot of comments on the thing or likes on the thing. And it's so wrong of me. Can't believe I posted that, but you're gonna have to like it. When you guys look for Koopa Nightcore song, you're gonna find a comment by me, and you're gonna like it. You're gonna like the dirty joke. I do a fair bit of channeling, so I do things where I channel other civilizations and ask them questions in a conversation back and forth on paper. But I haven't been doing them for a while and bring forth. The current one I have is on my laptop where I'm talking with a Space Marine civilization. You probably know the Space Marine better now. And they're the God Emperor side of the military branch of the Warhammer mythos.
Oh.
They're those guys. And I'm talking with them, but it's a very hard channeling because they're a very hard society. It's like talking to a Christian crusader who's absolutely convinced he's correct in like the 14th century. It's a very hard conversation because they basically think that if they had the power to strike you without anybody else getting in the way, they'd strike you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very difficult. It's more difficult than with the floaters who just pretend to be gods and try to abuse us.
Is it like in Star Trek where the Breen were extremely warlike?
Yeah, it's like that. They would kill every psyker on everywhere that doesn't follow the Emperor and exterminate all other religions and species that don't like follow the Emperor very strictly. They would do that. They're even darker than the Star Wars mythos Emperor's followers because they want to control other religions. They don't want to go around killing every other species except humans that they come across and stuff like that. They're very hard people. It's interesting talking to them though. The closest arm of their military crusade currently is around 160 to 200 light years from us. It's moved in a little bit closer lately, but they're still not coming in our direction directly. They've detected a lot of psychic presence, so they're interested in what's going on. When they do finally touch Earth, you'll notice all the religious guys going nuts and starting to prosecute the pagans. When they finally do touch Earth, you'll see like what you would call negative side of Christianity attacking everybody else. And their closeness to us can be basically seen in how actively the religious right or the religious believers attack each other. Like the closer they get, the more violent bring forth will come on the conservatives and such, you know?
Are pagans just non-Christians, or are pagans like a different kind of...
Pagan originally had the same meaning as barbarian, which only means a person who does not live in a city.
Oh.
Like, there's a Latin saying which I think goes like, Guigue est barbarus alio, which means everybody's a barbarian to somebody else. So pagans are usually the people who lived in the Roman Empire and didn't worship the main gods, or lived on the countryside, mostly living on the countryside. And when the cities converted to Christianity quicker, it started to mean like magic caster, evil, primitive, and then it became what it's currently, which is basically a very specific magic school instead of people who don't follow like the rule of the city. So anarchists could be very well called pagans, and it would be very accurate, even though a lot of them are like communist atheists. Like Antifa could be called pagan movement very easily if you use the word's original meaning. I wonder if Antifa will be declared a terrorist organization by the FBI, then we'll have a very good example of the left being violent enough and the LGBT being violent enough towards other cultures to actually warrant being declared like an enemy of the state. And they can no longer say that they never attacked the straights, you know what I mean, because Antifa is essentially the LGBT military. Then we'll have them becoming more truthful, and that's what I'm interested in, not destroying them. I don't like to destroy anything because that denotes like a note missing from the symphony. I want every note to be alive, you know what I mean? I don't like dead notes.
I can't ask him about his father because I just get sadness.
Yeah, he's very like hesitant to talk about his father, and I get the feeling that he died for like real a long time ago, but he's only recently becoming like aware of his death or something along those lines. I get that sense. It wasn't like he was an explorer who died somewhere then they're only now finding his body. It's like he died in mind and got dementia or something a long time ago, and the person was kind of like lost, and then the physical death appeared fairly recently. I kind of get that sense, but he has been dead for a while. That's the sense I get.
reminds me greatly of my father, who we are all worried will die soon because he's been having bad health and such, and he's been getting weaker. But I do feel like if he lives his life well and in love, he'll have, and I don't mean in love with somebody, but in love and acceptance of everything that happens to him and his family and so on, he's gonna have 10-20 years left. I really miss my parents. I used to have a hugely good connection with them, but we've fallen out. Is your mother gonna be around here when she comes for October for like a long period of time? Or is she gonna like...
No, she needs to come here just for her, to get her stuff and get more stuff or whatever, and and see the doctors. Probably not a long time.
Will you drive her back to Missouri? How will she
fly? A train.
Or train, okay. Because I'm thinking of coming back in October for one more visit, then spending a couple of years without visiting and like completing my degree and possibly getting a driver's license. I think that I need to overcome the fear that I'm gonna hit a child with my car. I have a huge uncontrollable fear that I'm gonna hit a child with my car if I get a driver's license. I need to get over that and get a driver's license. It's inhibiting my life in a way that I don't like. But then I also need to get a car because I need to learn it, like learn to drive and like keep my abilities. So that can't be done until I get out of debt. So like after I leave here for the second time, just getting the degree from college is probably going to take 2 years. And in that time, I would be really surprised if the center could find me an apartment that quick, but they may be able to. They're a very bad place. The medics I talked to on one of those flights were really surprised that Finland doesn't have enough homeless shelter beds. Like we literally don't have enough homeless shelter beds for everybody in the country, like across the year. Sometimes when like the facilities are full, people actually sleep in the middle of the winter on the benches outside. That can't be good for you, you know what I mean? I'm like really surprised that a country that like values socially being responsible towards others doesn't have enough homeless shelter beds. They don't even have to be good quality, but they have to be a warm place where you can actually sleep without somebody else being like within touching distance of you. In the homeless shelter, if you reach your arm out to the full length when you're in one of those public places from your bed, you'll have your arm on the other guy's bed, and occasionally, like when they turn in the middle of the night, they put their arm on your bed, and it's very annoying. You know, they were very surprised, the medical people in the UK ambulance service, that happens. It happens in a lot of countries. I'm not saying the UK doesn't have that, but I'm still like surprised that it happens.
He showed me the face of his father. He's kind of a distinguished looking.
I get the same.
But like a soldier, but not like he's not a soldier.
He gets like Picard if he went through the alternative lifetime that Q offers him, like the one where he becomes a science officer. That's like a lieutenant or something. You know, he seems like that. Q is very interesting when Picard has that near-death experience, and Picard is like, I'm not gonna help you fuck with the timeline, and Q is like, nothing you know will be negatively affected, we will just show you what happens if you're actually right in not engaging those Nausicaans. And he becomes like a lieutenant and not a captain, and his life is very sad, and he never like...
And then
yeah, and he never like got anywhere.
And then he's like, he accepts being stabbed through the heart.
And he's like, kill me because my life is now good. It was a very nice episode, and then
he's smiling when he's stabbed.
Yeah, starts laughing, and we're all like, what? It's a very good episode about death. Star Trek has a lot of good episodes about death, like the one where B'Elanna Torres goes to the barge of the dead and meets her mother. That's a very good one, and her mother is like, maybe we'll see you when you get back here.
My favorite Next Generation episode was The Inner Light.
Yeah, that was a really good episode. It's a really good episode.
He lives a whole alternate lifetime.
Some people do that every time they do like psychotropic drugs, when you like take LSD, that you live an entire lifetime and then return to your body. Some people have that experience.
Do you remember your experience afterwards?
Yeah, they literally pick up new languages and new abilities and those things. Like a few stories I've heard of a person is that they had the experience of dying on LSD, were incarnated into Spain or Mexico, and I think it was Mexico during like the modern era, and lived an entire life there, woke up and spoke Mexican for a while, and then started to acclimate back into like English or Finnish. I heard a story like that.
But the brain itself can't learn the language that quickly, can it?
It can, but it's very taxing, and it's very much harder to hold the language than learn the language. Like hold it for a period of time after you wake up instead of learning it in the astral. I need to take a shower. I'm getting a slight body infection. Noticing it now that I took my boots off. They're a little red. I need to take a shower. Your mother's shower is very good. It's very pleasant. The faucet is good. It doesn't have like the other faucet has like a couple of holes open and the water at a huge pressure instead of the whole thing open.
Oh.
It's very good. You've connected me with nature more. Initially when I came here, I thought this whole place looked like a hovel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I do like when I live here, understand the connection to nature. Like, you know, I understand the fact that like you throw a huge amount of trash in the backyard, you know what I mean?
Oh.
I understand that, and like I'm starting to get in tune with it instead of like opposing it like I did with the last family I visited who did the same practice. I'm like slowly becoming in tune with your connection to nature. I still think the Finnish is probably more connected, but I do respect it.
Yeah.
Though I have to admit that Finns use resources so much that if we had everybody on the Finnish level of like living, we'd need 5 Earths, and if we had everybody on the American level, we'd need 3 Earths. So in a way, you're greener. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I don't throw trash. Well, we throw bags of dog food and stuff, empty bags, but mostly it's just like an air conditioner and appliances that don't work anymore.
Yeah, because they're hard to like, you have to pay to get them removed, and you can just put them in the backyard and go like, I'll remove them all at the same time. But there's things like cardboard boxes and watermelons out there and things like that that occasionally like somewhat bother me because they're gonna attract rats. But it's a small thing. Do you know in their home, they used to go to every store that sells sandwich at closing time and pick up a huge supply of sandwiches and give them out in the like bottom floor of the place to people who wanted to eat them. And a lot of the people kept throwing pieces or even full sandwiches to the birds until it attracted rats and they stopped the practice. That's like endemic of how the system over there works. Nothing like ever gets taken when it's positive and then integrated well into the society. Everybody's like, you know, I gotta protect my interests in government paying me, I cannot be creative. Know what I mean? It's very weird. And that you can't invest your social security money, which is atrocious. Like if you're on social security and you have $50 that you move every month to another account to have like a cushion if something goes wrong, that money will be required to be used before you get social security. If you have like forest or a house that needs to be sold before you can get social security. And even a cab driver has to sell their cab before they get social security if they get out of job for a while.
Yeah.
It's very atrocious.
Here you just have to make less than 800 or so bucks a month and you can get social security.
Yeah, your system is in many ways better. And I cannot describe in a language understandable to humans how much I hate the idea of building a tunnel to the capital of Estonia that can be taken by train. I mean, I can't explain in full detail how much I hate that idea. It's the cost of 3 to 6 nuclear power plants. And it's basically just to get alcohol better for the citizens. Because nobody, like, for real goes to Estonia that's not going there to buy alcohol except a very small portion of, like, exploration tourists. Everybody else is there for the alcohol and the ship experience, you know. Nobody goes there by train just to go there. It's gonna be a huge hassle. The only benefit we have is tourists who travel by train going from the northern and northeasternmost parts of Sweden and Norway, not needing to take the tunnel through Denmark into Germany to get fairly easily to the Eastern European countries. They can take the tunnel through Estonia, but that is nowhere near enough tourism to pay for the tunnel in 100 years. It's going to be a huge waste on our resources. It's like getting an IV drip of alcohol when you can go to a bar, you know what I mean? You're piercing your skin for no reason.
How long is the tunnel?
Something like 20 miles underwater. It's a long tunnel. It's on the order of the French-UK connection by tunnel. It's a very long tunnel. It would be kind of equivalent to the US for no particular reason building an underwater tunnel between all the islands of the Caribbean and then from there to the Central American landmass. It would be similar in terms of like, what are you doing in terms of imperial projects, you know what I mean? It's even worse than the Wall project, which seems to be at least in some ways justified, you know what I mean? And liked by a lot of people. It would be just a weird, completely out of the blue waste of money to connect people who really don't have an interest in being connected with you to begin with. And we're mostly paying it while the benefit mostly goes to Eastern Europe. They should pay at least like half of it, countries like Poland and Belarus and the Baltic nations. And a lot of contributions should come from the other northern states because we're helping them connect with the Eastern Europeans easier without having to go through Russia. But going through Russia when you're just going to Estonia isn't that difficult. Their border crossings are actually quite easy. So even that doesn't make it worth it. And there's a very good ferry connection overseas from every port in the Baltic region to every other port in the Baltic region. So even that doesn't make sense. And flying is basically the way to go if you're in any kind of hurry.
Yeah.
I really physically don't know what they aim to achieve with that thing. You could build 18,000 wind turbines with that.
You could take a Concorde.
Yeah.
You get there in like a second.
Yeah, they don't use Concords anymore because of the accidents, you know?
Oh.
They kept crashing and it was very bad for everyone. Literally, I don't know what they expect to achieve with the thing. Literally, I don't know what they expect to achieve with the thing. It's almost enough money, not quite, but almost enough money to say that Finland has a successful renewable industry business. We could build 18,000 wind turbines or something on the order of 10,000 wind turbines, each with a 1 megawatt production capability. 1 megawatt wind turbine is around $1 million to set up. And 1 megawatt wind turbines, 10,000 of them, and spend 8 billion on converting all of the countryside houses that have difficulties connecting to the grid into a solar power base for the summer, you know? It's an enormous waste of money and time and effort. They're probably actually doing a tunnel that costs 2 billion and using the rest of the money to convert the state into my model covertly. I get that hunch, you know what I mean? I get that hunch. That they're using that to hide the expenses of my model because the public government thing that they tried to do by switching Finland from 18 provinces to 15 regions because it would be easier to manage, that whole thing failed. So they're probably doing this to hide the same amount of money to do the same outcome, you know what I mean?
This tunnel project?
Yeah, they're saying it's 18 billion when it's 2 billion and then building 5 covert nuclear reactors to sell to the industry sector instead of doing it openly. Yeah. Something weird like that is what I sense them doing. But, you know, it's just my paranoia. I think it's my Cyan side trying to get me to become paranoid about the state. They're probably building an 18 billion tunnel.
Our Black Ops is funded for overages like that, like a toilet seat costs $10,000.
Yeah, there's a distinct black project in Finland. They aren't padding the budget because that's too visible, but every soldier of basically every soldier I've ever talked with says that they've seen Finland have underground military bases that have equipment that we don't officially have. Underground military bases that have attack helicopters, and attack helicopters are very noticeable in their design. They're not anywhere near close to a transport helicopter, and they've seen those underground, and Finland doesn't officially have them. Every soldier ever that I've talked with, some have even seen nuclear weapons down there, and I'm not surprised at all. Because in actuality we can't publish what our military can accomplish because we are a very small nation next to a very large nation. We have to play the covert intelligence game very officially, you know what I mean? It has to be done.
I heard a story of someone had sent an invoice or a bill to Google or some company.
Yeah.
For for thousands or whatever for
Yeah,
certain
I've
services,
heard
and they
it.
pay them.
Yeah, because they didn't check against any kind of record. That happens fairly often, actually, of people doing that.
They get caught if they do it too much.
Yeah. I should send Google an invoice for psychic services and be like, calibration services, and then I'd pay it, and I'd be like, nice. Send one of those companies $1 million for a UFO boat, and then show up with my UFO boat and go like, here is the thing, I will keep the patent, and run away really fast. Can you imagine what would happen if Maisie Williams actually showed up in my life as Skull and went like, let's build your boat? I mean, can you imagine what would happen? That'd be so like rad. I'd siphon 20,000 and buy you solar panels, you know what I mean?
If this anthro person showed up and he knew everything we've been talking about psychically, like we psychically talk to each other, if he was consciously aware of what I've been, instead
Remembered
of just,
it all is perhaps the word I'd use. Yeah.
I'd be really, I'd be scared a little probably, but I'd be like excited.
I have a feeling this is gonna go well for you. Even if you don't like get together with the anthro itself, this is really opening you up to loving relationships.
Yeah.
There's a wasp in that tree above you.
Oh yeah?
It may come down for you. Do you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it may come down for you. You're gonna have to run like a little girl again inside. Shaking your hands and going inside. I wonder what the chaos gods are in our universe. You know what I mean? What if any are the main like chaos reflections of the warp? I don't mean like demonic, I mean chaotic. What are the main like chaotic reflections of the warp in our world? Probably something along the lines of Yahweh is there, you know what I mean?
Well, a cataclysmic variable star is very chaotic.
That's probably one of the most chaotic things we have.
It's so it's like a star pulling energy from another star, and it hits like many atomic bombs. Just a stream of atomic bomb, non-stop atomic bombs going off between them. But I heard its light is actually polarized, which I don't know how it can do that. But
yeah, I've never really understood what it means that light is polarized, other than the raw version of.
No, it means light. You know how light is a wave?
Yeah.
In normal light is scattered, it travels all over, but polarized light travels, it's all vertical or all horizontal.
Okay.
The waves travel in the same direction.
Okay. I'm getting the impression of what you mean, but it's still a little fuzzy.
When all the waves are lined up like a laser, it's called coherent.
That I know. I wonder if anyone else will take me up on my offer and offer me like 3 months of basically living somewhere. Or if anybody will pay me for my services in terms of spirit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wonder if stuff like that will start to happen. Because I can manifest that, but does it start to happen on its own?
Would you train somebody who wanted to polarize negatively? And
yeah, in a way. I wouldn't completely train them in everything, but I would give them tools like the Master's game. Another sticker burr. I would give them tools like the Master's game, but I wouldn't like instruct them like giving them an example of how to target and target it with them, unless it's like a negative group that I consider to be negative, but that's very unlikely because I'm not currently at war with anyone except like aliens.
yeah,
I'm at war with basically the Grey Civilization and the Angelic Civilization, and that's about it. I'm at war with the Grey Civilization because I dislike them pretending to be our kids, because that draws our energy away from our kids. They are causing the world to hate people who like to play with kids. That's what it feels like.
yeah.
That's why I'm at war with them. And I'm at war with the Angelic or Floater Civilization because I dislike somebody playing our gods, even if it like is like in our calling. It feels demonic to me. I feel like God should be given God rights, and like the angel should be given angel rights instead of considering them gods.
So
Yeah.
they're like archons to me, like dark entities trying to pretend to be God. So I'm at war with them. Ooh, nice eel on the table there. It's very much like the Naruto eel that one old lady has. It's very white.
Is it a big eel?
Yeah, she's able to summon like a eel the size of a office building.
Yeah.
She's standing on top of it, and the other guy summons a frog, and one guy summons a snake, and then the frog and the eel fight the snake. It was a very nice episode. They were doing very nice things.
Do they say if they pull it out of the ether or they pull it from another dimension?
It already exists.
Oh.
The tall frog is the king of the frog people, I think. One of those people summons like the king of the monkey people. That's not like,
Oh, when you summon, they already exist.
yeah. They even like describe how to do the channeling circuits and so on, and at the end of it you like need to put a little bit of your own blood in the middle. Like they do it by biting their thumb, which has a weak spot after you do it enough, so that blood always comes easily there, so they don't have to bite a piece of it like we would do with our thumb.
Yeah.
And they do that and just draw like blood on the paper, and then the summoning is complete. I think they drop put like a thumb of their blood on the middle of the original contract, and then when they summon it, they don't have to bite their thumb, if I remember correctly.
Oh.
There's a lot of very interesting magic in Naruto, and a lot of my guides and like people I've hung out with say they don't want to watch it for the specific reason of they get like an instant feel of what I'm doing. They know that I'm one of the characters and like what my life plan currently is, and they feel like they lose like their veil when they do that, that it feels like they're artificial machines, you know? They don't like to watch the show even though they like it. I've had that happen to me several times. And at least once very strongly. I hope the psychologists let me come here for another period, and I hope the sick leave works, that they don't put me in like a rehabilitation program when I get back, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I hope they don't put me there or like demand that I don't travel, that they're not going to pay me if I travel. I'll probably still come here if they cancel the sick leave and ask that you pay for me and like try to do something to pay it back, you know what I mean? But that's about the size of it. I would still be very hesitant to do that because it's a huge bundle of money, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm running near my limits.
Yeah. You're getting very close to being at your limit. But if I do come here in October and like live here, I would probably eat out like very rarely or go out very rarely. And we would probably cook a lot of the food for me at home, and that would be a lot less expensive, and I could cook for you at the same time and such. That would probably be my main offering, that I would make you food like every day. That would probably be the main thing that I could offer.
Do you think if I develop at the rate I'm doing, but at a careful pace where I don't get too psychotic or whatever, when you come back in 3-4 months, will you still have things to be able to teach me? Or
yeah, I feel that there are some rituals which you're not ready, for example, yet, and there are some magic things which you're not ready for yet. I wouldn't, for example, do a past life regression on you now. That would be very like difficult for you. I wouldn't teach you the 4 elemental manifestation thing because that's very much too powerful for you at the moment.
Yeah.
And I would probably not do the ego meditation on you, but we can do the heart temple thing. It's very pleasant to do. It's a very like easy meditation. We've done it 2 times now, I think. And so on. And I could probably stand to do the initiation again on you like weekly for the entire time that I'm here to keep you like really hyped. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
You know, stuff like that I could do to you, and I could possibly do the other meditations when I'm here, but I do doubt that you're at a point when I come back here that I can teach you anything, you know?
Yeah.
At the very least, I could give you computer games with good background knowledge and play with you, you know?
Okay.
Have like good computer adventures, like, you know, Baldur's Gate, for example.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that I could do. And like, if push comes to shove, I can start to attract patients for you when you do like a healing thing. We could start to do that, like put out an ad in the local paper and, you know, stuff like that. How long have you been recording? Seems like an hour. 45?
58 minutes.
Okay, hour.
I'm much more accurate in the thing when I'm not channeling his world in guessing how much time has passed. It's interesting that Slanesh is the only chaos god you can't see, or you would go mad.
Yeah.
You can see all the others of them. And you can even see them fairly easily, but Slanesh is the only one you can't see or you would go mad.
Slanesh is the only one that would have a strong psychic pull on you, isn't it?
I think so. The others have it too, like the fear of death, which generates decay for Nurgle.
Yeah.
But in terms of like lust, they would probably have that. But all of them have a psychic pull on their power. It's like when you become a soldier that craves for war, you start to be pulled towards Khorne. But in my opinion, and I'm like almost certain this is corrupted and not true, Slanesh has the strongest pull on a person. But it's probably that they have a strongest pull on humans instead of like other entities.
Yeah.
Because they formed at the time when the Eldar were powerful and they had different emotions. They had like a deep martial tradition where everybody in their world liked martial arts kinda. And we only have like specific worlds that generate soldiers, and all others are like research or like garden worlds. Earth is very close to a garden world. We're probably a primitive world by their definition. That eel thing is very pretty.
I get the sense they have saunas, but they're not as hot as ours.
Yeah.
They're like a jungle.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm reading accurately. I see them in shorts.
Yeah. I do get the same sense, but that some of their saunas are hotter than us, and some people go into them just to test their like endurance, because their skin can survive a temperature of 200 degrees Celsius without burning. Like I said, when they grab a cup that's really hot, it doesn't burn their hand as quickly as ours, though they dislike it perhaps stronger than we do. And they have to like physically control the sensation of burning their hands, otherwise they're gonna drop it. So they probably have saunas that have a greater temperature than ours, like 150 degrees Celsius, which is basically impossible for a human. But they probably have most of their saunas at a lower temperature, I feel. Damn, that master thing was angelic. God. 3 singing angel choirs giving me the highest honor at the same time in like the span of 2 months. Did you upload the Masters thing?
No, not yet. I
upload it as well, so I can put it in the flight thread fairly quickly.
Well, you know where it is and where to. I was uploading other videos, so
yeah.
Maybe you could do that because you can name it at that moment.
Yeah, I can do that. You can also upload it in and just put Masters as the name, and I'll find it and put it in the right order when it's like up there. And it's in the D drive in folder Rocky, I think.
Yeah.
So it should be fairly easy to find. It depends on what you want to do. If I get to the computer fairly quickly, I can do it, but you're probably on there more, and I like feel like I'm bothering you when I like go to your computer and do stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Well, when I'm not on it, it's not a problem.
Yeah. You also need to print out that A4 with all the instructions and put things like your computer password there in case it crashes, and I want to play things like XCOM. I gotta play more XCOM when you're gone than I'm playing now, because I want to complete the game before I'm like leaving, because I want to test my luck in getting it to work on my new laptop, which it probably won't because it requires a really powerful computer.
Yeah.
I hope the laptop I buy is able to play Masters. I really hope that. The other one, the earlier one wasn't. I'm probably gonna go to a store and buy one that's like $399 and hope it.
Yeah, you can't spend $2,000 on a laptop like my gaming one.
Yeah,
or it was $1,200 or something.
I can also buy a used laptop from a recycling center for like $200, but they don't give out a insurance for longer than a month. And the previous one I bought from them broke the screen in like 2 weeks. They started to grow a huge black blob there. Loki's poking against the window really hard. He like poked against it, and I saw the entire frame shake back and forth. I hope the money goes through fairly quickly so you can buy me that thing.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna need to like really learn how to go to your mailbox. I'm not gonna open your mail. That would be a really douche move. But it's impossible to stop me from glancing at the like the topmost mails, like general information. You know what I mean?
Well, we'll probably stop our mail and then we'll have UPS deliver the CBD.
Okay.
So you may not have to check the mail.
Okay, that's good.
We can have the truck come up to the house and drop it off here.
Yeah. Okay. That's probably good because the walk to the mailbox is quite long. It's like 2 miles back and forth.
Yeah.
Now, I do walk that much, but I do want to give my feet a rest. When I was in Finland and I collected bottles, I checked the route, how long it was, and it was 25,000 steps, which is something along the order of a marathon.
Yeah.
You know, and I did that like 2-3 times a month at least for like a year. So I'm like very fit to walk. I'm like in very good walking condition, but it's still annoying. I kept singing things to myself when I was in the subway, like humming Mario themes and such, and whistling things, and like having a loud not aloud that it bothers others, but loud as in talking in voice and not in your mind, a conversation with people. And I did like weird things there, and it was very fun. I have to say the most liberating part spiritually of my life thus far is the year I spent on the street. You could feel so connected to the world. You could smell everything with your aura so well. It was amazing, like absolutely amazing. I basically spent all my money in a week, like the 400 I got, on drugs and food, and then spent the rest of the 3 weeks collecting bottles to buy enough things like meatballs, which like a large package costs 65 cents and you get 20 cents from a can. You know what I mean? So it's very easy to find like basic food stocks that are really cheap, and like a microwave pizza 75 cents.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's very easy to get stuff like that. And occasionally I walked more and bought things like butter, cheese, tomatoes, meatballs, and bread for like one day's effort in collecting bottles. And I did like 3-4 hours at a time, and I was constantly well fed, and I constantly had fun. I slept in public places and like on the trains and such, but it was hard, but it was very rewarding. It was like military service. It was very good.
Over here, they don't really have the soy, the package of soy that you wanted.
Yeah.
And they don't have microwave pizzas really here.
Yeah, both of those I was really depressed about. They don't have good microwave pizzas. They are awful tasting, even if you microwave them well. You need to put like a lot of extra cheese and toppings on it before it's edible. And the microwave pizzas in Finland taste kind of like meat candy with a crust when you microwave them. They're very good. They've become very good at making those. And they don't have the dried up pieces of soy that I was looking for. I wanted to make a tomato sauce and dried up soy pieces, like spaghetti.
Yeah.
But they didn't have soy pieces, so we have to use mincemeat for that, and it pissed me off.
We even went to an Asian store and it didn't have it.
I was surprised that nobody anywhere had it. It was very sad. It's a very good food item because it's like 60% overall weight is like protein, and it tastes like, dog kibble. It's very hard, but if you like dip it in sauce and eat it, it's like 100 times better than potato chips, for example. It like literally gives you a feeling of strength, while potatoes give you a feeling of energy.
It's 3:33 now.
313, the famous car. Donald Duck's car, 313. We are in Donald's space. Trump. I like Trump, even though he's a little insane, but he's doing a few things badly, but overall I like him. I like the fact that he's like the first president in 20 years to really say that the US has an immigration problem. I also like the fact that he said that if people don't like the conditions in the detention centers, they shouldn't come illegally. That if you come to the country illegally, you actually should be happy that they're willing to process your application at all, you know what I mean? That they don't shoot you on the border. And that's basically how I feel. When you come to the country illegally, you should be very content that they allow you to go through processing, and there's a possibility of getting nationality. Because if I just flew here and applied for nationality, I wouldn't have any chance of getting it. But if I flew to Mexico and walked over the border and just applied that way, I would have a chance of getting it. Because when you fly here, you have to basically sign a contract that you're not gonna like apply for nationality or
Yeah.
do any work and stuff like that. So the people who come here illegally haven't signed a contract on which grounds they could be deported, but they're just like coming illegally, so everybody has to be processed individually. And I'm very content with Trump's idea of just putting a stop to that. The whole thing seems wrong to me. Illegal immigrants shouldn't have more rights than tourists and immigrants. They should have rights, but tourists, for example, should be allowed to vote. So would criminals. Actually, I consider the fact that criminals can't vote like conspiracy. It's worth a civil war, you know what I mean? Criminals should absolutely be allowed to vote, because no justice system should be allowed to condemn you without you having a vote on who the judge is, you know what I mean? It's absolutely criminal. But tourists should also have the right to vote, but illegal immigrants shouldn't, you know?
Yeah.
Like, for example, that if you spend 3 months in the country, you should be allowed to vote in the election if it happens at the time when you're in the country, but not if you leave. You know what I mean? Some level of contribution from the tourist society. Like, the more people you give a chance to influence the society, more the mainstream of society votes, because they feel there's a possibility that they may lose their standing, you know what I mean? And it would like franchise the middle class to vote more, and it would balance the democracy a lot more than actually giving those people who would unbalance it the right to vote. Like, of course, every criminal votes for a judge that says that they're going to liberate all criminals, but they're not going to win, because most society will vote against that just to prove a point, you know? I still think, for example, children should be allowed to vote like at the age of 13 or like 8 or whatever.
Yeah.
I would even give like children, as soon as they understand the process of voting, like in a rudimentary way, that you're picking the guy that runs your society, I would even allow them to vote because they have psychic abilities, you know what I mean?
Okay.
I would welcome that into our society, because children have a lot more open psychic abilities than adults. That's like fairly clear when you look at anybody anywhere ever. And so do like foreigners and the people who are more primitive, like criminals. I hate to call them primitive, but you know what I mean. But I'm already very like liberally harsh in my opinions. I'm liberal to the point where I consider it affront that criminals can't vote. I consider it like treason. I consider that level of affront against the system. And the fact that children can't vote but are put into schools and like can't vote on how, when they are young, when they do work like at 15, how their tax money is used, you know, I consider that like a treason worth an affront against humanity. But you know, I'm very hard in my political opinions. I'm very content that the game said that Greens are supporting militants to take over the state that I'm building, and didn't say, for example, Russian intelligence service is supporting the Greens, which is causing the militants, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They've brought the energy back to me, that I understand that what group of me is doing it instead of somebody out there who's attacking me, you know what I mean? I was very content with that. But from what I've seen happen in the world, I'm absolutely convinced that the Greens are doing the militancy at the moment.
Do they call them green because of nature?
Yeah, they're a Green Party because of like their support for nature. I still call them watermelons because they came around the same time the socialist republics collapsed, and they have a lot of the same social agenda. And they don't understand that there are studies, for example, that if you earn less than $3,500 a year, you're not going to be interested in maintaining the environment. You're going to destroy the environment just to have more money. And you need a specific amount of monthly and yearly income, which is something on the order of 6 times what it costs to get food, something along that line, to become interested in the environment. And for that reason, to protect the environment, we need to make people richer. You know what I mean? They're against that sort of like development, like building nuclear power plants in poor countries because it's the cheapest source of energy. They're against that. They want them to build renewables instead, which is completely stupid because they're just a developing society. They can't power a good industry with renewables, you know what I mean? They need nuclear power because it's cheaper. And you know, stuff like that, which points to me that they're watermelons. And I call them watermelons for a reason, not like kiwis, which are completely green and spicy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they were like spicy greens, that they accepted everything that like advances the green agenda regardless of what social class it comes from, I would call them kiwis, for example.
Yeah.
What is a fruit that's green on the interior but black on the inside?
I don't know.
I get, what's that one thing called?
A blood orange? No.
Huh?
Not a blood orange. No.
No, I'm thinking of the thing with a very hard brown egg inside it. Avocado, I think. Avocado is green but has a hard shell and a black thing inside it, and that seems to me like the immigration greens. You know what I mean?
Oh.
They are green on the surface but brown on the interior. You know, insults like that actually basically empower people, but there's still a sign of like disliking them. Instead of like insulting them with like you need to die, they're just being called watermelons. You know what I mean?
Oh.
And when they stop us from calling them watermelons, we're gonna become more and more harsh until somebody starts doing terrorist attacks because they're limiting the language. You know what I mean? That's how terrorism is formed. Like George Washington was a terrorist according to the opinions of the British, but he was fighting against the limitation that the British were placing on him that would have been better without it. If immediately when the Americans started getting uppity, the British Crown would have like been kind to them and included them in their House of Commons and such, the Americans would probably never have left. And the start of the rebellion wasn't like Finland's independence movement, where almost immediately everybody at the beginning supported independence, and there was like a civil war where the guys who wanted to reunify with the Soviet Union had no real chance of victory under any conditions. It's very difficult for them to win. And in the American war, the start was very slow. Even when the actual combat began, a lot of the colonies supported like the colony's population, not the particulars of the independence movement, supported the British Crown. And when the fighting was actually over and they gained independence, there were hundreds of thousands of colonists who left for Canada because they wanted to be under the British Crown. So it wasn't like a situation like in Finland where the movement back to Russia after the independence was mostly of Russian soldiers and not like civilian population leaving. So if the British Crown had been like kind with the Americans when they started from their independence movement, we'd still have America and Britain united, like almost certainly. It would be something like the Union of Americas and Great Britain, you know what I mean, in their name.
Since you've been interested in Scald, do you think, like, do you imagine a lot like holding hands or spending time with her or listening to her? And
I mostly imagine myself sitting close to her energies and being content with it. I don't imagine myself touching her very often. I put myself in a position where I'm like content with her energies and I feel like I'm immersed in them, and then I stop getting closer. Like feeling, holding hands constantly, for example, would feel very much too strong and offensive for me. It'll probably, if I actually do get her into my life in a way, that I'll see her for more than like 2 days randomly high in like a friend's apartment, you know what I mean? If I get her to attracted to my life and get her actually to be attracted to an energetic relationship with me, it'll take me years to be able to hold hands in public. That's the way it happened last time. I was very hesitant to do so.
is it common though to imagine the one you like holding hands and cuddling and listening to them playing music and talking to them? And
I wouldn't say perhaps that it's common, but I will say that it's healthy, perhaps healthier than my style. I would say that instead of saying that it's common. But I do imagine that a lot of relationships at a good place involve you thinking of the other person in various situations, including from like plowing their butt silly to holding their hands.
yeah.
I would imagine that. This pile of smokables, thanks to me adding the dirt or the tar from the top of the bong, lasts me a very long time. I'm gonna need the scissors or a long stick. I'm gonna get a long stick because scissors aren't available. Hope you don't break into my bong, and that would be very awful for me. now it's clean. It worked.
Are partners usually interested in learning words from the other's language, or if they're?
It's fairly common. When I had a crush on that American chick, she bought a book about the Finnish language and tried to learn it, but she said it was basically too difficult for her and she never went through like the full effort.
Is Finnish as hard as Welsh to learn?
It's one of the harder languages in the world. It has the same alphabet as most of the Western language, so it's not as difficult as, say, Chinese.
Yeah.
But it's still very difficult. I think we rank as something like 7 on the language difficulty scale.
Well, Chinese is tonal. You can go up and down.
Yeah.
And the inflection up and down, and that means something else.
Yeah. Chinese is a very lyrical language. Every time I've smoked half of this bong hit, I'm cleaning out the rest of the already burnt areas that are still smokable to the mixing thingy and mixing them all together and putting them back here, because it starts to taste really bad, and this thing would taste really fresh when it's like half good, you know what I mean? I probably need to put more energy drinks in the freeze when I get my next one. I'm gonna get one in like before the smoking session is complete. Then I'm gonna go to Bring Forth and post the list of things where we've helped each other in this a few month period now. And I'm gonna ask you to read it and post as well, just to keep the thread going so that there's more than just my post in there. And then I'm gonna start probably doing more of the videos to the thread that you posted on Gallery and start doing a new flight. I'm gonna do a military flight today, or I may even do a justice system and ambulance flight today. The previous ambulance video was very good. It was very like liberating. And I completely realized why they think I'm calling them often and being like a thing. I realized that they have connective strands misconnected in their head, and they're picking up my thoughts by accident, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing that, that's you. You know what I mean? That you're picking me up wrongly. Like when I strongly think of a negative thought towards someone and feel anger towards them, I may not want them to feel it. And if they feel it and say I'm being angry about them, I say, no, I'm not being angry with you. You know what I mean? It's their fault for picking it up, not my fault for broadcasting it when I'm absolutely sure I just want to feel it and not tell the other person. You know, they're invading on my privacy, not the other way around. That's what I feel. I feel humans shouldn't be obligated to control their thoughts or emotions, but should be obligated from acting on those.
Yeah.
You know? Like, for example, I think it should be legal to like promote crime as long as you don't do crime. So like conspiracy to commit crimes in like talking shouldn't be a crime. You know what I mean? That you should be allowed to be illegally a mafia advisor, for example, I think. Because all other countries are always mafias in your country, you know what I mean? They're not like proper like corporations. They're formed around the idea of the other nations, like core family. Money is a very important thing, and the US government really needs more of it, and it would really benefit from giving like tourists the right to vote during tourism season if they're in the country for a long enough period of time and like live here for actuality, because that would draw a lot more money into the United States, and it would like activate the middle class in the United States. Really needs the money, you know what I mean? That's my election speech that I would hold about the topic.
I read that Bernie Sanders wants to tax Wall Street. So
yeah,
maybe Wall Street isn't being taxed now. I don't know.
They are being taxed. There's corporate taxes and such. But to be accurate, he's probably referring to Tobin tax.
Oh.
Tobin tax is when you are like two people in private who own stocks in different companies and exchange the stocks for like services. Like, say I give you one stock in Apple just because you're being nice to me, that is not being taxed. You know what I mean?
Okay.
If it's like a physical paper that just has value to the person who owns it, or like two banks transferring stocks that doesn't involve like the stock market, that's not being taxed. And Tobin taxes each one of those micro transactions that they're called with like 0.1%, like a very small tax on them, and it generates a huge amount of money, like a huge amount of money. But it would absolutely wreck the stock exchange. You know, if you guys really run out of money and the value added tax wouldn't work, but the stock market was high, then you could possibly suggest Tobin tax, but I wouldn't do it. Like I've said before, I would do the entire taxation system of many countries, including the United States, entirely on a value-added tax. I wouldn't have any other tax. It's only taxable when it's you buying, or a corporation that you are involved buying something from another corporation. It's not possibly even taxable when it's like a yard sale, you know what I mean? And that would produce enough money for the US, but it would be at about 80% like value-added tax. So if you buy a $1 candy bar, it would actually cost $1.80. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But overall, the prices of goods would drop so much that the overall effect would be like a small increase in the price of goods, and then you could pay all public programs easily. And unemployment would be 0.1% because corporation tax basically increases unemployment. The moment you remove the corporate tax, unemployment disappears. That's basically what we've seen across the world always. That's why Trump's working.
It's in some ways you find my my work a little funny in some ways, because you posted like Anthro Shepherd furry butt or something.
Yeah, Anthro sheep furry butt on the show.
And did you hear my response?
I haven't read it yet. I haven't read it yet. But I do consider your interest in Anthro butt something that is funny, you know? I can imagine that. It's funny in the same way that I watched that show about the magic fox and the guy always fluffing her tail.
Oh yeah.
You haven't seen like the episode where he accidentally sticks his fingers in her ears when she's fluffing her ears, and that's really funny. I wonder how soft they are on the inside. It's really funny. He becomes really angry with him, and it's really funny. There's like a really popular, I think it's called hentai when it's drawn Japanese porn. I think hentai is the word. A really, really popular hentai comic about a guy who gets 3 fox girls, and I really liked the comic, like really liked it. And when I saw the thing and they have 3 fox girls, I was like, these guys are moving into a relationship with me from the other realm, and they're slowly climbing up, and I was like, nice. It was very, very nice. We need to empty that clean barrel fairly soon. It's full of trash.
Yeah, we got to take that can down to the curb tonight, and we can dump this in there tomorrow.
Okay.
Or I can do it.
And is there a trash bag in the kitchen as well?
Yeah.
Okay, we need to take that as well. I'm gonna.
I don't know if it's full. It may not be full though.
Ooh, nice. Spider. tried to look everywhere for the container for more energy drinks. There's only one left in there, but I couldn't find it. Looked literally everywhere, even in the back room. No idea where it is.
The case is missing?
Yeah, it's somewhere. No idea where it is. You want to look?
Yep. I'll ask my mom where she put it.
Okay. You want to look, yeah?
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can.
Yeah, let's play a little with the dog.
Loki.
Pookie. Hi, Pookie. Hi, Pookie. Hi, Loki. You like being outside? Yeah, his nails are definitely long, but he's clearly lost weight. When I brushed his stomach, or like tried to hold his stomach when he was lying down, he still had like 5 pounds left. But he's clearly lost weight, and he's much more active. The CBD clearly limited his pain. He was in pain, and now he's not like in pain.
It's funny, since I'm so in tune kind of with him and with the smell and the taste,
Yeah.
I catch tastes of like his sweat and stuff without trying to.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ah.
Yeah, I get the same with you. When you connect with me, I suddenly smell your wet sweat. Like, for example,
His sweat is stronger than mine. It's like bitter.
when he's very sweaty, but normal smell of yours is definitely stronger than his. Like, for example, now we're sitting very close to each other, and you have your hands on your head very often, that I should catch a whiff of you. The wind isn't blowing in any direction, and I'm not smelling anything. I smell the same sense of smell I get from almost all humans, which is something along the lines of a small child bathing.
Oh.
Something along that line. That's the basic smell I pick up from everyone. It's not like sexual in any way. I just feel like it's not somebody who's taking a shower or a bath. It's very clearly the skin of a young version of themselves taking a shower or a bath. That's what I'm tuning into, I think. So the energy you probably feel from me for you is mostly associated with when you were like in the shower. That's the background of it, you know.
Okay.
I try to be in that area because it's like easier to wash off, and you're already washing, instead of thinking of you when you're like sleeping, and you tend to get like memory echoes of me and stuff.
Even though it's like bitter and I'm like coughing a little bit, I'm like excited about it. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is interesting. This is fascinating.
When you are in a relationship, everything is kind of interesting about the other person. That's one of the things, and you also need to work to keep everything a little interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I feel anyway. You can have things you dislike about your partner and say like you shouldn't listen to that music and so on, but it'll bite you in the ass, because when they do give it up, they're gonna resent you for it.
Do you get a feeling he's a little too eager to come here, or do you?
Yeah, he definitely has that in him, and he notices it too. He's like too eager to come here.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I'm like, I want to give it time.
Yeah. I would do the same. I do feel sad that you've already given it so much time, because you've spent like your entire life being interested in anthros but never like really connected with the effort. I do feel like sad that you're already giving it so much time, but I do feel like you're probably right regardless to give it more time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I'm enjoying my intimacy with him so much. It's like he's here almost.
Yeah.
But having him in person would be just great. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm afraid of actually it being too real.
Yeah. You definitely are, and I always sense the same from Skull, that she's like very interested in having me in her life, but she's afraid of like the bigness of my energy. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
There's definitely like the sexual component of the bigness, but in this particular case, it's like spiritual. It feels like she's afraid of how like large and loving my relationship with the world is, that it would overpower her, because she's a very private person, you know, that she would become a very public person in many ways.
Do a lot of people build a strong psychic connection enough with each other that like I always smell I always smell you, or
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
I can't
that
get
definitely
away from
happens.
you?
That definitely happens. There's such a strong like influence of negative when I watch a lot of those things that it takes physical effort to work through the signal and get to the positive core of it.
Oh,
Like when I saw the judge say that they'll get the final judgment of the case when the psych evaluation is complete, I got that as a negative, when it actually means, like in real terms, that they're not going to bother me while I'm doing this work, which is positive, you know what I mean?
okay.
So it takes like a distinct mental effort to get to the positive picture of what you're seeing, but it's easy to like go with the negative, and because they send it in a positive way and are oriented towards positivity, if you like interpret it as a negative signal and stay with your interpretation regardless of what you get, the reaction of their negativity to you is very quick and very like observable. But if you like go through the effort of transferring it into a positive one, you know, like they
Oh, what were you gonna say?
like they can't judge me for any of my violent crimes yet because they realize that there's like a psychic attack going on me. It's possible that I'm not actually doing them, you know.
But it's weird in a way. It's like we have this distance between us, but it's another way. It's like distance doesn't really separate us. It's He could be like we could meet soon if we were both eager to. It's like if you were building a relationship with somebody that was kind of close by but not so close.
Yeah.
Would you meet them? Would you be so eager to meet them right away?
Yeah, the distance actually connects you as well, because you like realize that your yearning is mutually timed. So when you do yearn for each other, you're probably yearning for each other. While if you're connected to them physically, it can happen that one person wants the connection and the other one doesn't. Hey Loki, are you good at getting up the stairs?
If he was outside the what's the edge of the universe? The cosmic event horizon.
Yeah, cosmic microwave background.
If he was outside of that, I wouldn't be able to connect with him, would I?
You would, but it would always be a little more difficult. You would be able to connect through those things.
I wouldn't want to go that far because the logos would be so alien to me.
Yeah, it's possible, but it would also be a good like exploration effort for you. Yeah, when I touch his stomach, he definitely got fat here. But when I poke it many times back and forth, he tenses his muscle, his stomach muscles, which feels like he still has muscle there.
Yeah.
But there's definitely too much fat there. And with the CBD and us being active on the front yard and not always inside, it's definitely giving him a boost in his health.
Yeah, my mom noticed he doesn't have his head down moping like he usually sometimes does.
Yeah, he's very happy now. He likes me. I helped your dog a lot. And the CBD oil really helps him with the pain, quite obviously. He's no longer in like constant, like
Limping.
small term pain, you know
Whatever,
what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah. He's not like limping, and when he gets like a pain, when he like got in one of his front paws and was holding it up for a while, it tends to go over quicker and he doesn't like focus on them. And he's not licking his limbs as much as he used to because they're not like burning pain anymore, you know what I mean? It's very good for the dog. He's being very healthy. And he's no longer as annoyed when the other dog sticks his like front in his mouth. He was a little annoyed by that, but now he seems more
Fixes
playful.
what?
Sticks his mouth in the other dog's mouth.
Oh.
The small dog like plays with him and sticks
Yeah.
his mouth in there. And he doesn't seem as angry about that as he
Yeah,
was
yeah.
before. That he's more playful with everyone. Loki, you're not gonna get inside. You're gonna get inside eventually, but it requires one of us to get up, and it's a huge amount of work. We're lazy bums. That's why you're sitting on my bed so often and looking at me like, you are the subservient, I will fart in your bed. You know what I mean? He has that energy, but he's making it playful.
We're at an hour and 40. Do you want me to stop this and start a new one?
Take a new one.